On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a big win in Miami on the defensive end. Plus, Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans make their debut. Could the Mavericks have gotten this win before the trade? Could they have made this happen the way that they won in this game? Luka Doncic scored 0 points in the fourth quarter. What? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where you can hang out with us. Thanks for listening. You can also check out the Locked On NBA show that I will be hosting tomorrow, so go check out that feed as well. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor, writer at Mavs.com, the Heat hoodlum, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Well, it's always good beating the Miami Heat. I mean, let's go. I mean, I thought at some point Bennett Salvatore is going to come out of the tunnel. I thought he actually did come into the game at one point. I'm like, this officiating is brutal.
Donaghy and Associates hanging out in this game.
But what a fun win. I was trying to think of, I don't know if it's the biggest win of the season. They've had some a few big ones this year, but as far as most fun, I think this is definitely a top 3 game that I had the most fun watching this year.
Definitely one of the most fun games. Kirk Henderson tweeted out afterwards, is this the best road win the Mavs have had? So I went back and looked through all of them. And the only one that comes, like, they beat the Clippers on the road, I guess. They beat the Grizzlies on the road by 30 to clinch the season series. That was a good win. But this is probably, this is the best team they've definitely beat on the road this year, if you just want to count that. And so this is a massive win. Plus, you add in the fact that these 2 new guys debuted, and so we'll talk about them. But also, Luka Doncic scored 0 points in the fourth quarter. Think about the 2 games the Mavericks just played, the last 2 games. Against the Clippers, Luka scores 23 points in the fourth quarter. The rest of the Mavs score 7, and they lose. This game, Luka scores 0. The rest of the Mavs score 26, and they win. Just completely different games that the Mavericks have played the last couple of days. And I think some of these new guys are, they're already doing some of the things that we hoped that they would do. But we'll talk about them. But, the defense has to start us off here, because this Mavericks team plays defense in a way that we have not seen before. And against this Miami Heat team, that's a really good team. Number 1 team in the East. They should not be taken lightly. They were healthy. They had Lowry. They had Jimmy Butler. They had, Bam Adebayo. They had all their guys, basically. Duncan Robinson and all that. The Mavs get a win, and they held them under 100 points. Massive.
Yeah, I think the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit. I thought Kidd coached an incredible game. I think Spo has been one of the better coaches in the league for, a decade now. But
he was one of the top 15 coaches of all time. He made that list.
Yeah, he's incredible. But I thought Kidd and the coaching staff did great tonight, having the team prepared, because when you trade out guys, even though the Mavs sent just KP out, they brought in 2 new guys. Both of these guys, Dinwiddie played 23 minutes, Bertans 13. We'll talk more about them later in the pod, but it's like anytime you're incorporating new guys like that, in addition to Reggie Bullock's not in this game, who is a starter now. And I did not expect them to be so much on a string like they were defensively. I'm like, wow, how did you integrate these 2 guys and lose Reggie, put Josh Green into the starting lineup? Like, it would have been completely, it would have made sense tonight if their defense, lacked. Like, if I would have seen this before the game, and I'm like, okay, they're probably going to give about 115.
They did in the first half. In the first half, I didn't think their defense was very good at all. They were really trying to integrate these new guys, and the Mavs defense relies on communication, knowing where you're going, and knowing exactly who you're supposed to basically close out on, right? Like, guys have to scramble to close out and run around and follow the ball, all that kind of stuff. They have to be really in tune with each other. And you have 2 brand new guys that have practiced 1 time with the Mavericks, and you wouldn't expect them to play defense as well as they did. And in the first half, they didn't. In the second half, man, they turned it on. They held the Heat to 19 points in the third quarter and 21 in the fourth quarter. That's crazy to me.
It's insane. And I think a lot of it has to do with their rotation up front, their bigs. And the game that Maxi played tonight was absolutely insane. 19 points off the bench. We have to say off the bench because he didn't start the game, but he started the second half. That was the adjustment, from kids camp. And this, once again, love the fact that they make adjustments and like, hey, we're going to try something new here. They start Max in the second half. He ends up playing 34 minutes in the game, but 19 points, 5 blocks for Maxi. What a difference it has. And I don't, we're going to obviously tie KP into this because they just traded him, but I'll make a statement on this. I don't think that the Mavericks win this game if Porzingis is a Maverick. And I just don't.
And playing in the game.
I don't think they can they could have pulled off this game like they did defensively and everything if KP was out there on the floor, because once you look at this Miami team, you have Bam as their lone big out there. It's like, all right, well, who is KP guarding, right? Like when they're switching off players and they're Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam, they're moving all these guys around. Well, who's KP switching off on? Who can he stay in front of? And that's where, man, having this ability to throw Maxi out there, especially when, Dwight goes and gets in foul trouble there, which is kind of a blessing in disguise. And Maxi, especially against this Miami team, was the lone big. It's like, okay, like this is where you have that flexibility. You can switch. We've been joking about the Toronto thing. Like we're the Toronto of the West, kind of what Toronto's been doing in the East. And Spoelstra had this quote after the game. He said, not every team can, and they did have a lot of size. He said, that's what makes them unique. It's not necessarily that they have a monster front line, but everyone except Brunson is 6'8". And it's like, that's what gave Utah fits last year in the playoffs whenever the Clippers said, we're just going to throw a bunch of wings on the floor. And they're doing it again. Like again, this year, the Clippers, like they Trevor Covington, Norm Powell, they're just out there just gathering all the wings. You can never have enough guys, 6'6",
like wing stop over there in the Clippers,
6'10" on the roster. And that's what Dallas is doing right now. And even a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie that they brought in,
6'5".
The first thing you see him walk out there on the floor, it's like we're used to seeing Trey Burke. We're used to seeing these smaller guards, Jalen Brunson, and seeing Dinwiddie walk on the floor. I'm like, oh, he looks taller than, it's just it. They have a ton of these guys now. And I just think how they rotated tonight, how they played with their front line, and Maxi had been able to do that. It gave them an opportunity to win.
It's an ability that they didn't have before, right? And it'll hurt them in some games, but in this game, it was massive for them to be able to throw size, and specifically on Jimmy Butler. Mike Prada just tweeted this. Putting size on Jimmy Butler continues to vaporize Miami's crunch time offense. Not having Tyler Hero to play off big to play hurt them big time. And yeah, they didn't have Tyler Hero in this game, but okay. But they put Maxi Kleber on Jimmy Butler late, and he stopped him a bunch of times. I kept tracking, was looking like, man, late in the game, Maxi got a stop on Jimmy Butler with 2 minutes to go. He got another stop on him with like a couple minutes to go. It was that move right there, and keeping size out there, and not even just putting their biggest guy on Bam. It's not even necessarily about that. It was putting size on Jimmy, because he takes advantage of guys with his strength, right? He's not the fastest guy. He doesn't jump the highest. He doesn't have the best jumper, but he can bull rush you, push you off your spot, and get a shot off. And he couldn't do that against Maxi as well as he could have against, even a Dorian or a Reggie Bullock or anybody else they were going to throw on him.
Yeah, no, and that's what, there's a reason why they won, because of how the roster is constructed. But when they're playing the Clippers, in the playoffs, it's like, all right, they put Maxi on Kawhi, and it's like Kawhi's going to go supernova, but Maxi's a good defender, and he can hold his ground.
Jimmy
I feel
Butler's not Kawhi.
he's not Kawhi, no,
right.
But it's like,
which is why they won tonight.
Yeah, and it's like, here's the thing with the Mavs right now. They've pretty much accepted the fact that, hey, some of these bigs out there are going to torch us. Like when we play Jokic, Embiid, some of these guys, like they're going to get their points. But what Dallas is doing with this shift kind of in the roster and switching out KP for Dinwiddie Bertans is, hey, we're going to give up these points back. Like you're big. If you have a really talented big, they're going to score and get their buckets. But they're going to bank on we're going to defend our butts off on the perimeter and try to take away some of these threes. And we feel like we have enough offense to match whatever your big is going to put up. So that's where it's like it's gonna feel at times. I mean, even Bam tonight. I mean, Bam's so dang good. It felt like he was just scoring at will, and it's like this thing where you have to almost just kind of. It's kind of like the rope-a-dope. It's the the boxing thing. It's like, all right, dang, this sucks. It feels like they're scoring at will, but can we counter that? And can we take away some of the threes and some of the perimeter plays? And can we score enough to offset what their bigs are going to do? I feel like that's going to be the story the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Coming up, let's talk about the story of this season so far. The two new guys for the Dallas Mavericks, Davis Bertans, Spencer Dinwiddie, make a little splash in their debut. We'll talk about those guys, how they're fitting on the roster, and everything coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Are you looking for a daily fantasy option for the NBA? You need to try the award-winning app Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. You're not playing against sharks or those wise guys, anything like that. So for example, you look at this game, Knicks versus the Nets tomorrow. They have over/under. Okay, let's do points. Let's do over/under points. Julius Randle, 24.5. I could pick the under on that for Randle. And then you can pick our friend Seth Curry, 15.5 points. I think I'll take the under on that for Seth as well. Take the under on both of those. I put in $20, I could win $40. I put in $100, I could win $200. I can also hit the power play on that. That $100 could turn into $300 if I win on that. So go check out Prize Picks. Go use the code NBA. You'll get $50 for free if a player in your first Prize Pick entry scores a single point. So go check it out. Prize Picks, promo code NBA. All right, Isaac Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie, Davis Bertans make their debut. We've talked about how Jason Kidd adjusted, and I think for the last 5 days, you and I have said, okay, well, the Mavs get Spencer Dinwiddie, they acquire him in a trade. Well, what is it going to look like? Who could he possibly play with? Well, he's not going to play with Luka and Brunson, so it's going to have to be, Luka and Dinwiddie or Brunson and Dinwiddie. I'm interested to see how those lineups play out. And dang it, didn't Jason Kidd just throw out all 3 of them right away in the first half? The Spencer Dinwiddie comes out, Luka and Brunson stay on the floor, and they just tried the 3 guards together, and immediately the Heat went on a 7-0 run, and you're just like, it just is clunky. And Spencer Dinwiddie has to have the ball in his hands. And that was that to me was something that he changed in the second half and didn't go back to. But I found that funny that it was the first thing he went to. Was like, let me just throw all 3 of these guys out there and see what happens.
Yeah, he put him in, and I was like, wait, is JB still up there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening? And that definitely caught me by surprise. And I don't want to say it will never work, but it's just right now.
Against some teams it will.
Some teams
Not
it will.
this one.
Dinwiddie will have to prove to teams that he can hit the outside shot consistently for that to work. But
I think it's more about the defense. I think the offense can work because all of a sudden there's a couple plays in this one where all 3 of them are on the court and you swing the ball around enough. Then you have 3 guys that can attack from any angle. And that just, throws the defense completely off. And so
especially for a guy like,
I think that can work. It's the defensive end that I think they're really going to struggle on that end because you just don't have the guys to throw at, when you don't have the wings to throw at some of these perimeter players unless you have like Dorian and Bullock and Josh Green and some of these other guys.
That's the intriguing part offensively is how many times has Luka played with a lineup to where there have been 2 guys that can create, get to the rim, and play make.
Did he play with JJ Barea and Devin Harris? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's like it.
Yeah. And you could say, okay, Brunson, Tim Hardaway. Tim's not the get to the like creator type that like a Dinwiddie is. So
like Brunson and Curry, maybe Curry at times could do that, but not really.
I'm not like fully in love with it. Like if he didn't play that very much at all, I'd be fine with it. But I'm also not opposed to it either. Dinwiddie tonight, 0 of 2 from 3. That second 3 he missed. I think the ball went into the actual ocean in Miami, but he was 2 of 5 from the field. Obviously not a great offensive night from him shooting wise, but I thought he made I feel like you could watch him tonight and say he's just trying to make the right play every single time. I almost wanted him to be a little bit more aggressive tonight at times because he was just making the right pass. I mean, which is great. And it's like hitting the guys, doing his thing, trying to get everybody involved. And there are a couple times he got to the rim. I'm like, ooh, that's what I'm excited to see with you with this team. Having another guy out there like, oh, cool. It's now Luka or JB that can get to the rim. That's awesome.
We've been doing this way too long because that's the exact sentence I was about to say. That it popped every time that he, like the 2 times he got to the rim, because we're just not used to seeing somebody else be able to get to the rim on the court when it's just Luka or just Brunson on the floor. We're used to these guys that can literally only take the ball from where they are to somewhere very close to that, and not from, the 3-point line to the bucket. He gets those 2 shots. He does miss 4 free throws, which stink for him. He's an 80%.
Kid mentioned that after the game.
He's an 80% free throw shooter for his career, so I expect that to be better. But he did have 5 assists, to your point about making the right play. He did. He swung the ball around. He made the right play. He did not call his number as often as I would have liked to as well. But for this first game, he made a little bit of a contribution, got the 5 assists because he was swinging the ball around enough. And it's just great to have a ball mover in the NBA that could be a threat to attack. The Mavs don't have anybody else like that besides Luka and Brunson, and you can already see where he's going to have an impact.
I mean, what's the opposite of Washington? I'd much rather say what we're saying right now, but man, I wish he'd be a little bit more aggressive instead of, wow, he was a black hole tonight. He just wanted to take this thing over.
How many times this year have we been like, oh, the only players that can dribble against this other team are Luka and Brunson? Literally no one else can dribble because they'll just get hounded by the defense and then turn the ball over. And Dinwiddie is another guy that can dribble, which is important.
And just having him come off the bench I think I texted you in the second half, and I don't even have the net rating of this lineup in front of me. I don't even know if it sucked or whatever, but I'm like, I don't think there's been a non-Luka lineup that I've been like semi-excited about than the lineup of, it was Dinwiddie, Bertans, Dorian, Brunson, and I think Maxi on the floor. It was without Luka, and I'm like, all right, this is fun. Like this is something I'm like, I feel like they could hold. I feel like those 5 guys could hold the ship, afloat while Luka can get some rest and stuff. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was in this game. It was Brunson, Dinwiddie, Josh Green, Kleber, and Bertans. Like that lineup has a little bit of defense with Green and Maxi. Has the shooting with Bertans, Brunson, Maxi, and then the playmaking of Brunson, Dinwiddie, and Josh Green. Right? I mean, that's a bench lineup that can play against benches and be really good. Moving over to Davis Bertans.
Yeah.
Man.
The flamethrower, the Latvian laser.
It's what I wanted, right? It's like, I just wish Davis would come in. What did I say? Hit 5 threes? He hit 3 of them in this game. And some of them, I feel like he was just putting up there, but and just chucking up some threes.
Really?
But his gravity matters, right? And his gravity is going to change some things for the Mavs. His game feels a little bit like Boban's to me in the sense that when he's on the floor, you're just like completely drawn to him, and there's really nothing else you can kind of do. You know what I mean? It's like he's out there, and they're just gonna be running stuff for Bertans. They're just gonna be running plays for Bertans because that's what they do when Boban's out there. But I thought his shooting mattered a lot. He had that and one dunk, and it was funny. I think Tim Cato tweeted that he can only score in multiples of 3. Like Bertans can't hit it 2 at all. He can only score in 3s.
And his yell after that, I felt that. It
was cathartic, man. Real. It was cathartic.
Yes, I'm like, let the yell out of, you are not in Washington D.C. anymore.
No, and he talked about that after the game. Now I know that I'm here. It's more organized. He literally said it's more organized. What he said after the game.
How much he's having fun, how much he enjoyed every second of it tonight.
And to that point, Maxi, after the game, was interviewed by Bally Sports and was asked about these 2 guys. And he said, man, these 2 guys are just cool guys. We loved having them in, joking around with them, bringing them onto the team. And it just feels like they've been on the team for a long time. Luka mentioned that him and Davis were speaking Serbian together. And, Spencer Dinwiddie knows Jared Dudley. And so you just have these connections with these guys. And it feels like the chemistry is kind of already there with some of these guys. And they fit in with this team. And it's different from what they had possibly before with another player that was on the team.
You talking about Willie or no? Just kidding.
True.
Haralabob tweeted this after the game. Somebody tweeted at him about, I guess it might have been a Wizards fan or whatever. And this guy tweeted at Haralabob and said, "Hey, I'm dying at Mavs fans who watch Bertan make a couple threes and they think he's good now, whatever." And Bob says basically what we've kind of been saying, I said this the other day. I was breaking down how many games, he's played in 34 games this season in Washington compared to, I think it's like 500 and something games for his career. And it's like, we want to judge the last 34 games. And Bob says, hey, he's being sarcastic, total flash in the pan. A guy who shot 40%, 37, 43, 42, 40% from three in his previous 5 seasons. But I'm sure the 32% he shot through 34 games this year is a true reflection of it. Like, true sarcasm there, but that's the point of this dude has played so long in his career, shot over 40% from three. And, when this trade happens, it was like, oh my gosh, Bertans, he sucks shooting now. It's like, all right, well, just look, can we not give him a chance? Like 34 games out of 500 and something that he's shot the ball bad.
On a weird Wizards team that were good at the beginning of the year, have all these wings. And I mean, there's so many reasons.
Dude's going to chuck the ball up. I mean,
yes.
Dorian called him a flamethrower the first, when they first made the trade. And I mean, when those first few threes went in, I was just so hyped. But it's like, it's what you're saying. And I even tweeted this after the game. He hit 3 threes in this game. And not to do the whole like KP comp again, but it's KP only hit 3 or more threes this season 6 times. If he just hit like one more 3, like 4 threes in a game, KP only did that 1 time this season. So just having another guy out there that's a respectable shooter that can shoot the 3 ball at a 40% clip, it does provide so much space and gravity. There was that time in the second half, maybe the fourth quarter, where he caught the ball. I swear it was like 35 feet out, and he pump faked over
with Duncan Robinson in front of him. Yeah,
on the left wing. I'm like, whoa, okay.
But Duncan went for him. He juked. Yeah. He juked him and was like, "Oh, I'm a 3-point shooter. You're a 3-point shooter. I know you can take a shot from there."
This guy's going to camp out in the corner for the rest of the season and hit so many threes. And it's like,
and he only played 13 minutes, and that's fine, right? That's what we expected from him. 13 minutes, 15 minutes, some nights against other teams that are not the number 1 team in the East that plays good defense and can attack you with guys that go them off of screens and stuff. Maybe he'll play 20 minutes a game, but this is what you wanted from him, to hit threes like this, to come in off the bench. And the Mavs he scored 12 points off the bench. In the last game against the Clippers, the Mavs scored 4 points off the bench, right? That's numbers. That's that's the difference right there.
If Maxi gets back to shooting consistently at that 40% mark, I mean, the ability to say, if we're needing points right now, we're behind in the fourth, whatever it is, or even at the very last possession of a game and you need a 3, to be able to throw out Brunson, Reggie Bullock, Bertans, and Maxi alongside Luka. Now, you legit have 4 good 3-point shooters. So anyway, I know we need to take a break. But.
Absolutely. Coming up, let's get into the rest of this game. We got to talk about Maxi. We have not talked enough about the incredible game he had. Plus, Josh Green is showing us some more stuff. He had another one of his flashy Josh Green games. We'll talk about him, the viability of him, and talk about more about Luka not scoring any points in the fourth quarter and the Mavs still winning. Let's celebrate that win a little bit more coming up. Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full stream for both pro and college hoops. Pro hoops ball.
Pro hoops, let's go.
Pro hoops, man. Bet on some pro hoops at Bet Online. You can go check it out. They have the dunk contest. They have games every single night. You can check out some more NBA All-Star props. They have all kinds of things that you can put some money on. The Jazz playing the Lakers in LA. This is a game that kind of matters for the Mavericks if they want the Mavs
to find their season.
The Mavs may want the Lakers to win this game, but Lakers are a 4.5-point underdog because if the Mavs are trying to catch the Jazz in the standings, they would want the Jazz to lose. But if you want to bet on that game, you can go ahead. Warriors 5-point favorite against the Nuggets at home. That's another game that's interesting. Suns 15.5-point favorite against the Rockets. That is a line right there. You want to check out all the best props and odds, go check out Bet Online. It's Bet Online where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into the rest of this game. Maxi Kleber was incredible. He was so great in this game, guarding Jimmy Butler late, hitting 3 threes, 3 of 8. That's 37%. That's really good. Call the man, right? Getting 6 rebounds, but the 5 block shots that probably should have been 6 or 7. If not for a couple of weird calls here and there. But Maxi Kleber, an absolutely incredible game. And I saw a couple of fans and people on Twitter saying, well, what this version of Maxi, why can't we get this version of Maxi more often? This is what role players do. Maxi even said this post-game that, some nights it's me, some nights it's Dorian, some nights it's Brunson, some nights it's, Bullock. the Mavs have to have these role players that show up like one every 5th game or something like that. And that's what role players do. Role players on every team do this. If you watch some of the best teams in NBA history, they have these role players and they'll do the same things, right? They show up and play an incredibly good game one night, and then the next 4 nights they play an average game or a bad game, right? Brunson has taken his game from playing a good game every like 4 or 5 nights to every 2 nights he's playing a really, really good game. And that's what taking your game up to the next level means for a team, right? Hitting your shots more consistently, getting to the rim more consistently, all that kind of stuff. And so Maxi having this game when Bullock was out, Dwight Powell was not good. Dorian, he hit 4 threes, but the Mavs' other role players didn't, Dinwiddie didn't really do a whole lot. Honestly, Luka did not have the greatest game. So for him to step up when somebody else isn't having a good game is huge for the Mavs, and that's how they win games now.
Yeah, the Mavs hit, non-Luka Mavs hit 16 threes tonight.
Huge.
Hook that up to my veins. Like, let's go with that. And, Maxi's game, I mean, I feel like I've been saying for a while, I think when you look at contracts under $10 million, you look at,
we looked at all of them with the trade exception, right? That's
true. Yes. I think he's one of the better bargains in the league for his versatility defensively as a 6'10", 6'11" guy that can guard these, perimeter wings at times, that can also hit the 3. I know he's been, not to the level that he's been used to playing at here lately. Hopefully this is the start of a new streak for him. But I mean, yeah, I just, in a way, Reggie comes back and starts and Josh Green goes back to the bench. This 2-man lineup, or this 2 big lineup off the bench of Bertans and Maxi it's so intriguing. I don't know my full thoughts on it yet. I think we need to see a few more games against a few different opponents to have full thoughts on. But it's like we have our own. It's like a 2021 version of Robert Horry and Charlie Villanueva of of Maxi and Bertans.
Was that like the lineup of like a really great team at one point?
It's not even 2021. It's 2022. But Johnny said on Twitter that
he said Horry and Charlie V.
He didn't say the Robert Horry part, but
you said that.
I said that, yeah. But can't you you think about the Robert Horry like threes and stuff of the all the highlights and stuff? I'm like, that's Maxi hitting threes at top of the key. But Johnny said on Twitter during the game that Bertans is a better version of Charlie Villanueva, and now that's all I'll think about. This whole map stretch.
I mean, it adds spacing, right? These 2 guys, Maxi and Bertans, can space the floor for Dinwiddie and Brunson when they come off the bench, and that's what you need, right? That adds a lot to a lineup like this. Instead of playing Dwight where you have a roller, now you have 2 guys that can space the floor, and so now you're asking Dinwiddie and Brunson to do what they do best: get to the rim and kick out to some of these other guys.
Yeah,
that's 100% what you want to do. Speaking of some of the other guys, Josh Green, I thought had a really good game at times in this one. Josh Green finished with 8 points. He had all of them in the first quarter. He hit 2 threes in the first quarter. He had 3 assists, one of them an absolute dime to Brunson in the corner. Josh Green comes off of the right corner. He looks back towards the top of the key and throws the ball to the opposite corner to Jalen Brunson, hits him right in the breadbasket, and Brunson hits the 3. I mean, it was an incredible pass, and you're like, I don't know how many Mavericks can make that pass that are not named Luka Doncic.
It was a great pass. I don't know if Sadiq Bey could have made that pass.
I don't think Sadiq Bey could make that pass, but Josh Green's showing us what he can do for the Mavericks, and
he is playing so I'm so happy for him.
Yeah,
and Ball Vulgaris is happy too. And
I tweeted the video of it, and Vulgaris commented and said he just needs one summer with an elite shooting coach and he can be a quality player. And I'm like, yep.
He is the I've said this a million times too. He is the definition of high school running back that you throw on
Josh
the court.
Green is
and
not,
Josh
not
Green.
Vulgaris.
No. You're not winning too many high school football games if Bob's your high school running back, but unless
that's
Bob's
like our
coach,
4th Bob Vulgaris mention.
Because he watches the Mavs all the time, and
he always tweets about them.
He'll chime in with some stuff, but yeah, man, Josh Green, super fun watching him. I love the progress he's making. I am curious about this though. What's the rotation look like when Reggie's back? Like Josh goes to the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, Bertans just played 13 minutes in this game. Does Josh Green just get the Sterling Brown, Frank Ntilikina minutes? Or
when Josh Green was selected to start today, I said, oh, he did the Rick Carlisle leapfrog thing, right? He leapfrogged his spot in the rotation in his starting. But Josh Green has done some stuff.
I feel like he's played well enough though to where he doesn't just go back to DMPCDs. And so
I think it's going to depend on who they play against. You have, you start with your starting five. Then you have Maxi and Dinwiddie off the bench for sure. I think Bertans is probably going to get a for sure off the bench as well.
Yeah.
And then you have to choose between Sterling, Frank, and Josh. Who are you going to play? Who are you going to call? Right?
Go Spencer.
I'll call Paul Rudd every time.
I'm saying right now, I wouldn't put it out of the equation like in the playoffs that Dwight's not even starting. I think there's some matchups that it's just Maxi at the 5. If they really want to get funky with it, you put Dorian at the 5.
I'm not mad at that. I think
Jonathan
Dwight
Sharks is like less like. I mean, he's going
to get weird
if they do that. Yeah,
I'm not mad at that. I think Dwight is doing what regular season centers do and eating up minutes. Right? Yeah. He's eating up minutes for Maxi. Maxi can't play 35 minutes every night. No. He just gets hurt. He's just too injury prone to do that.
Got to keep him healthy. Yeah,
he can do it every once in a while in a game like this, but you got to have somebody eat up some minutes and a good chunk of minutes, and they can get away with that with Dwight. So I agree that. Also, we forgot about Marquise Chris. Where does he fit into all this?
Oh, I literally did forget about him.
He was out this game. He didn't play, but he may have a role as well. This would have been a nice game for him, I think. I think this is a game where he plays and Dwight probably doesn't as much.
I think Dwight still plays, but
still starts probably, but
it's fun. They have flexibility. That's one of the bigger things.
Yeah.
It's like, man, they can play different styles. They can have fun.
Dang it. Are we drinking the Kool-Aid talking about their flexibility? Oh no.
I'm sure we'll have some people. Look at these homers.
That's fine. I agree that they have flexibility. And I said I was on Locked On Today with Peter Bukowski today, and I said it's not just about splitting the contract of Porzingis into 2 guys. It's about splitting the player into 2 guys too. One that brings something the Mavs need and a guy that gets to the rim, and then another guy that can shoot threes better than what Porzingis can do. Right? It creates.
You're about to call Bertans a rim protector or a rim roller, and
I almost said rim runner in the sense that Dinwiddie runs to the rim with the ball in his hands. Like that is not what that phrase is or what that thing is called. Mavs also hit a bunch of threes, like you said, in this game. 18 threes. We haven't talked about Luka barely at all this whole pod. But Luka finished his game with, one of his worst games of the year, 21 points, 10 boards, and 6 assists.
Slacker.
But the Heat were doubling him a lot. They were trapping him a ton. Yeah. And I think it was Austin Guerrilla that made this point. Like, you can't trap and double Luka for an entire game because eventually he's going to figure it out. And they did.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, how Luka, that was obviously their game plan early on. I mean, Dallas did a lot of trapping in this game too, especially with Jimmy Butler and stuff at times. I love how Dallas, defended, tonight's game, but yeah, I mean, Luka, the switches on Bam and, Duncan, he's going to try to, go after, those guys, but they kind of made the point. I mean, we see teams all the time. It's like the Ty Lue thing of like, teams are going to try, if they're a smart team, they're going to try to do one of 2 things. Try to double him, get the ball out of his hands, and dare him to have 16 assists, or you don't double and just let him have his 40 and try to take out everybody else. That's what you do against star players. And tonight, the other guys came through.
Absolutely. I just saw somebody post a video that Luka, the Mavs are desperate for a center this offseason. Luka is tampering with Bam Adebayo after the game. Good job, Luka.
I mean, I don't know if Bam's leaving Miami, but Bam would be amazing next to Luka.
All the stuff we just said about Maxi is Bam is the all-star version of that, except for the 3-point shooting. But
yeah,
he is the all-star version of what we just talked about with the flexibility, the defense that the Mavs are trying to run, right? All that stuff.
Bam's like to play with like a playmaker type of guy.
He's got Lowry and he's got Butler. Butler's had some good playmaking games.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Mavs get a huge win. Absolutely. We will be back tomorrow talking more Dallas Mavericks. Plus, we have every single post game. So the Mavs play the Pelicans next. against on Thursday, and then it's All-Star break.
Crazy big time weekend in Cleveland.
You don't have to pretend at the end. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen.
I was gonna keep going. Big time weekend.
That was
so exciting.
That was like when Jimmy Butler threw PJ Tucker a pass tonight, and it like the shot clock was winding down. He had to throw up a shot, and he didn't even hit the side of the backboard. He hit like the stanchion behind the rim. Guys, that was what that shot was just now with you.
One more thing. If you're watching YouTube, watch this incredible moment. This was a gift that I bought all of our listeners. Are you ready?
Oh, you heard nothing.
Oh, you didn't hear the cough because I got a cough button. Thank you to everyone who sent me money, Venmo. I appreciate to everyone who contributed to this purchase. Nobody did. I bought this with my own tax money.
They listened, they liked, they subscribed. All that stuff helped pay for that cough button. You guys did this. You guys made this happen. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Now go listen to Locked On Now as your second listen. I'll be on there tonight breaking down the NBA game and for the Mavs and all the others. So go check it out. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
That's all.
Boom!